yesterday. And I pulled out the majority of it, but then I found this like little stub in there that's paining my thumb. I hate that because I've now got to dig that out with a pair of scissors.
Oh yeah, well, you could take a pin. I remember heating up a pin or putting it under a lighter or something and then digging it out. Sometimes you just gotta open the whole thing up to get that bastard out.
Yeah, I know. That's what I think I've got to do.
Ones at work. I used to get steel ones at work, little shards of steel that would get in there. Oh man, they'd be so hard to get out. And then so you sometimes just had to take a razor, cut the flesh so you could dig it out.
Yeah, I just pulled a big one out. I pulled a big one out, but it didn't bring that. There's a small little bit that didn't come out.
Yeah, that's the part that you got to get out.
Yeah,
it'll drive you mad forever.
It will. I know. The next few days until I get it out. Okay.
Well, one way you can do is keep soaking it in salt water, warm salt water.
Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't affect anything. Keep like warm salt water or even soapy water, and soak it, and that might help it ooze itself out.
Okay.
And then you just keep pushing behind it,
Yeah, pushing it up. Yeah. I used to basically put it in the mouth and suck at it, which I think does the same sort of thing. Anyway, all right. Welcome everybody to Talking Niagara. It's it's actually the first week of the summer vacay for the kids, right?
Is it? Is the kids off now?
Kids are off now. Kids finished last Thursday.
Well, congratulations, you little bastards. You made it through another year.
Right. Okay. So Prime Minister is basically saying that we should reopen our embassies in Iran and Venezuela. And in part, he's saying that having an embassy and having consular services in a country doesn't mean we endorse the policies of that country, but it does mean that we actually are there for Canadians that may well be, in a work situation or may be in the local area. And he's particularly talking about Venezuela and Iran.
Yes. Well, of course, he's going to get heat. Harper closed Iran's back in 2012, I think, the embassy in Iran.
Yeah,
and it's understandable because Iran is meddling all over the place with its proxies, and it has an unusual ideology to, and it has to fight. It is the one Shia power that is in constant conflict with all the other Sunni powers in the area. It is a paranoid state because upon creation, it found itself under threat from the United States, and it found that the United States helped Iraq, which it later turned its back on, fight it for 8 years, and then later on made lots of money by selling it arms so that it could fight the Iraqis. So when you're looking at Iran's point of view, you have all these hostile neighbors around you and hostile people around you. So I think Carney is right. Canada is a very stable democracy. It is kind of like the sort of calm little brother of the United States. When the United States goes off, who's still pretty calm, and also what he points out too. And let's get to Venezuela. Like they pulled out of Venezuela because Maduro was there, and Maduro really didn't win his elections and all of that. And okay, so you pull out your embassies, but in the long run, they're not doing anything different than China does, are they? Like, look what China did to the Uyghurs. Did Canada pull its embassy out of China? No, it would be shooting itself in the foot.
Yeah.
So like, look at all the different countries doing whatever they do. Are we going to remove our embassies every time? One embassy we should remove is Israel, because the way they're behaving now.
Yeah.
But you'll never find that happening.
In part of me says that Harper was right to withdraw those embassies back in the day. But also, I think time has changed, and particularly with Iran, having an Iranian embassy is an important aspect. Now, we all know that one of the elements of an embassy is, of course, a spy mission there.
Well, possibly, Canada could have, I don't know how good Canada spies or not, but yeah, basically, we know that the Israelis, for instance, use Canadian passports, and the Israelis have been spying on us in the United States for a very long time. But I guess it's just because every country spies on every other country. We found that how much the United States had been spying on Europe some years ago, and then we found out that Europe was doing the same thing. So I don't know. But I don't think spying is the real issue here.
It's not.
The real issue, of course, is now we're going to have Canadians. There's lots of Canadians with Iranian descent, right? So how do you deal with issues with Iranians? For instance, what if an Iranian Canadian goes back to Iran and gets himself into some kind of trouble or whatever? You need diplomatic muscle to be able to sort some of that out. Yeah, I think he's right. Like, if it's Idi Amin's, okay, pull a pin on that. But it's kind of hypocritical if you're not going to do it to China when they were really brutal on the Uyghurs. Are you going to do it on the Iranians? But remember, too, Iran is a very brutal regime. They're very bad. Like, I mean, they make the Shah look like a kindergarten kid. The Shah had a secret police that was trained by the U.S. that was incredibly brutal. But the Khomeini's regime started off slaughtering people right in the very beginning, and of late are continuing to murder and execute people on cranes and so on. If there is a calming influence on a regime like that, Canada might be available for that. As far as Venezuela is concerned, we pulled out because of Maduro, but but I think that he's right. We should be reopening these things. Because Canada is a steady, reasonable middle power that will find a use. They could stand in between two different powers who are fighting. You know what I mean? They could. As a matter of fact, when I was in Morocco one time, an American who went to the American embassy, and the American embassy wouldn't help them. He went to the Canadian embassy, and the Canadian embassy helped them out. Helped them get home. So sometimes having a Canadian embassy is a pretty good thing. I don't know, Webb. Look at Qatar. Look at Qatar for a reason. Like, Qatar has been roundly criticized for having diplomatic relationship with Hamas and Hezbollah and other, right? But when it came time to negotiate or to communicate with these groups, they went through Qatar.
They had a way to do that.
Yeah. That's because Qatar kept those channels open. If they hadn't kept them open, it would be very, very difficult it's difficult enough as it is, but it'd be very difficult to stop or negotiate or anything of that kind.
Yeah. Okay. So Canada is basically look at, there's been several invites about this over the last few years, but Canada is basically signaling an interest in GCAP, the sixth generation fighter program. This is Global Combat Air Program, which is next generation fighter program being led by UK, Italy, and Japan. But they're looking to grow membership and grow, presumably inviting there's talk about inviting Canada as observer status, so they wouldn't be actually taking part in the program, but they would be observing.
Yes, and it's really built around the Tempest aircraft, which is a which is a stealth fighter that is superior to the American stealth fighters at the particular time. It can carry a payload twice as much as the American stealth fighters, and has a longer range. So it's basically the next generation of stealth fighters. And Canada getting mixed up into this too, that kind of muddies the waters a little bit more, because we were going to get the F-35, and then we decided we've only paid for 16 or are paying for 16 of them. We originally thought we were going to get 88. Now the Gripen fighter looks pretty good to us. It is not as sophisticated a fighter, but it will do a lot what we need, particularly in the Arctic. And that is our main focus, is the Arctic. That's where we're supposed to be doing most of the defending and watching out for the bad guys like China and Russia. So that's an issue. And of course, it's a political issue as well. And then if you add into that this GCAP, where they have the Tempest fighter, that might mean we get ourselves involved in a very sophisticated development of a very sophisticated fighter, a stealth fighter. So it opens up a lot of various opportunities for our
having only observer status means that Canada's not putting money into the project. But
he opens the door for that.
Yeah, this is one of these longer-term programs, so it takes a bit more time to actually develop it, and they have to be, happy with what they see before they put money into it.
Yes. Now the three countries that are involved, of course, it's a UK-led operation, but it involves an odd combination. You could understand why Japan would be in on it, but Italy. So it's Italy, Japan, and UK. That was an odd combination, I thought.
It is an odd combination, yes.
And then Canada's in as observer status. I think that's, but what it does is it allows us more opportunities to see what we're going to need. Remember, I think it's very important that Trudeau made a huge mistake when he canceled those fighters from the United States, and then all the wars started popping up. And we cannot forget the best way to avoid a war is to be prepared for war. I think that's, unfortunately, that is so true. The best way, when things look like they're going to go down the road of peace, that's kind of just when things kind of unravel. I would not have thought that the United States, in this case under Biden, would have allowed the Ukraine war to happen. But it's almost like they wanted the Ukraine war to happen. It's just complete foolishness, and it tells you how poorly they see the future. And the Iranian war, who would have thought that the United States would have actually be dealing with Iran like an equal, because Iran has the ability to cut off the Straits of Hormuz. It walked right into that trap. Who would have thought that Trump, the guy that called for peace, would be the guy that gets sucked into an Iranian war by Netanyahu. He tried that on every president. The guy that calls for peace is the guy that actually got duped.
Yeah, the irony here is that you've already mentioned it. The Tempest fighter is more a long range bomber than it is a fighter. Although bombers and fighters, the distinction between them is a lot different nowadays. F-35 and the Griffin are pure fighters. They don't really carry bombs on the payload.
Yeah, but anyway, aside from all the technical stuff, there is another avenue that Canada get involved in. I think probably, without knowing a whole lot of, just on the surface, it looks like a good idea to start to get involved in some of this stuff. Because let's face it, up until now, all we did was just lean on the United States. Oh well, you know what? We won't buy as many fighters. I mean, the U.S. will help us. We don't have to buy all that stuff that we have committed to, because you know what, the U.S. will help us.
Yeah, that's no good anymore. That's not acceptable anymore, either to the United States nor to Canada.
Remember, the United States has been putting out that alarm long before Trump. They say you got to put up or shut up. And then finally they got a president that said, "That's it. I could see you are not serious about your own protection, and we're not going to back you up."
Yeah.
It's like, why should we pay for all this? I think that was a good thing that happened. There's a lot of things we can complain about the U.S. administration under Trump, but I think that was a good wake-up call for us. Definitely a good wake-up call for us.
And that actually was because most of Europe was underpaying, undervaluing their contribution to NATO.
Yeah, they wouldn't even hit the 2% mark.
Yeah.
They were unwilling to hit. We were all unwilling to hit the minimum 2%. Well, guess what? We're all committing to 5% now, aren't we?
Yeah.
If we had committed to the 2% up until now, we may not have had a Ukrainian war with Russia. We might have been able, I don't know. We probably would not have been able to avoid the Gaza war.
Well, but this is a long-term difficulty, because most of NATO that has not been pulling its weight, this has been going back a while, 10, 20 years. So this is not it's not a today problem. It's a 2-decade-old problem.
Well, it's more than 2 decades, really. Yeah. But it does, like, the one Canadian leader that dropped us below 1% was Stephen Harper. You would have thought, exactly, conservative, he would have gone the other way. But you would think, well, who didn't come up and pay their bills? No, it wasn't. It wasn't Chrétien. It was Harper, and then the drama teacher gets in and he starts making comments about the CF-18s and we don't need them and all this other stuff, and so he cancels it, and that just made it much worse. It's because we have leaders that I don't know, they ride on ideology rather than what's really happening out there. One of the things I've learned by all of this covering that we do here is reality. There is a political movement called the reality movement, basically real politics, and it sort of eliminates the ideology that drives a nation and looks at the practicality, the economy, the military, and all these other things.
Well, I think you have a prime minister at the moment who's more reality focused than he is, philosophically focused.
Yes, I'm so happy about that. That you have somebody that, that kind of guy that's just the accountant kind of.
Yeah.
This is how many dollars we have coming in. This is where we can invest. This is the reality of the situation. If he had been talking to the Brits before Brexit, he would have just said, you know, you're going to be a lot more broke. When we didn't hear about Brexit at the time, we didn't hear people saying, you know, you're going to be a lot more broke. You're going to be 20% poorer.
I did. Yeah.
You did?
I didn't say 20% poorer, but I was saying right at the very time, if the UK pulls out of Europe, it's going to have a dramatic impact upon the economy, because you've got to think about all of those European businesses that will be pulling out of Britain.
Yeah. But the other thing is,
right?
The EU learned a lesson too. It was jamming its it was jamming its policies down everybody's throats, saying you got to have X amount of refugees, you got to do this, you got to do that. So I think it learned a better lesson too. But in the meantime, no, like as far as I was concerned, like a lot of people did to say, you are going to be a lot poorer. Everybody thought, well, we'll just switch trading partners and that'll be it in Britain. But I mean, the awkward thing is Britain's a much poorer nation now that it pulled out of Brexit.
Well, you know, the pulling out of Brexit has a more detrimental effect upon Britain than historically did the Battle of Britain. Right? That is how dramatic this is, because the worst impact upon the UK was always the Battle of Britain.
Yeah, but one's economical, one's military, but
well, both are economic impacts at the end of the day. And
I think, Canada team, World Cup, so Team Canada.
Yeah, they won 1-0. They won 1-0 against South Africa, which puts them in the round of 16 for the first time ever.
That's great. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, so when you go back to the back to the fighters here, what we were just talking about is were we talking about the fighters or were we talking about the embassies again?
Fighters, I think we were primarily talking about.
Yeah. So basically speaking, there we have two different situations here where Canada wants to reopen its embassies and also get involved with other countries when it comes to its defense. So we see what's happening. Canada is not just sort of falling into lockstep with the U.S., which I think is probably a very good thing, because we could be an intermediary between hostile countries and the U.S. for one. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Within hours of them, in fact, within minutes of them, Iran getting knocked out of the World Cup. Basically, US launched new strikes and Iran launched drone and missile attacks on Bahrain and Kuwait.
Yeah, here we go. It's going to be this peace thing is going to be very, very hard to do, because it's just not the Iranians and the Americans. The Americans have the albatross around their neck, which is Israel, which pretty much does what it wants to do because of its extraordinary power in American politics, and Hezbollah, who actually is fighting for its homeland, which is southern Lebanon. The Shia population of Lebanon mostly lives in the southern part of Lebanon, so they're actually they're fighting for their own homes. So Israel says it's going to go in there, it's going to stay as long as it wants and everything. It's also expanding into Syria. It's also its IDF forces are helping the settler movement burn down olive groves and knock down towns in on the West Bank. It looks like there's a big push and effort for Israel to eat up as much territory as it can, because it sees that its support in the United States and around the world is waning. So
Yeah.
this is big. This is the chance they can get to capture as much land for their Greater Israel project as possible. And one of those things, of course, is to push as many Palestinians off the land in the West Bank as it can, make it almost impossible for them to make a living by burning down their olive groves and or uprooting them, and of course eating up a piece of Syria. It's got a hunk of Syria right now, and it's got a piece of Lebanon, and it's got 2/3 of Gaza. So pretty much they're going to try to hold as much of that territory as possible and hopefully expand the borders of Israel that way. I don't know how well that's going to happen, because they've always been able to do what they wanted to do and ask for forgiveness later. In the United States, which is his best friend, will do that all the time. And you find even in the United States right now, they have during that big party they had in the 250th sort of state fair type of party they had in Washington. They're holding the flags in some of the buildings are unequal. There'll be Israel and the United States side by side. Seriously? Right? What's that doing there? It's America's birthday, not Israel's. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
What the heck's that doing there?
That's Saturday, by the way. 250th anniversary of the United States is Saturday.
And our birthday is on Wednesday, isn't it?
Our birthday is on Wednesday, so we won't be here Wednesday.
But where are we going?
We'll be lazing in bed.
Yes. Well, yeah, we could be. Yeah. And so what are we, 159 years old, is it?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. You're probably right.
Let me see. I'll do a quick cipher here. 9, 6, 5. Yeah, 159.
Yeah.
So we're about, I don't know, about 100, about 96, 90 something years younger than the US. Yeah.
Yes, Mike. I'm going to be staying in bed I'm going to be staying in bed the whole day on the 1st, I think.
Well, yeah, so we're like 91 years younger than the US. And yeah, so there's Mike. What's Mike going to be doing? He's finished his job now, eh? The kids are in school.
Yeah.
They're out of school now.
Okay. All right. So so we were talking about Iran attacking Bahrain and Kuwait following US strikes, and threatens to halt talks about peace there. Yep. So Mike has got the summer off. We knew that. Just made 8 sticks. 8 walking sticks. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're always on those, aren't you, Mike? You should be doing wonderful business on those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy one, I think. I keep saying that, but I gotta get contact and buy one.
Yeah.
Because I use a cane every day, actually.
You do?
Yeah, when I go for walks and that. Because of knee and hip issues, and feet issues. Normally, I'm fine. I'm fine for walking very well of late, but sometimes I'm not.
Well, I have knee and ankle issues, right? But I don't know how to use a damn cane.
Use a cane to support. If you've got problems with your left leg, you use it on your right hand.
Yeah.
Right. So when you take, say, you're stepping forward, you lean a little bit on your right hand to take pressure off your left leg.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't try to coordinate your step with the cane, although some people will do that depending on what issues they have. But normally speaking, if you have a problem with, say, your left knee or your left leg, you'll have the cane in your right hand. So when you take that step, instead of putting all the weight on your left leg, you put some on your right hand with the cane.
Yeah.
That takes some of the pressure off.
So he says seniors discount prices for you, Dave, and it's a legal weapon to carry, which is nice today.
Okay, good. I'll go down to Washington and give a few people down there a damn good drubbing.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So moving on. Now, the Niagara region has been launching a consultant-led review of all its, in order to make difficult decisions in relation to the budget for the next year.
Can you repeat that?
Sorry. Basically, Niagara region is launching a consultant-led review of its services in order to run cost-cutting exercises over the next year.
So it's going to spend money to save money?
That's the one. Yeah.
It sounds like what was that guy's name in Moonstruck? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta spend money to save money. Yeah, but yeah, I would think. I don't know. This seems to be just another study heaped upon other studies that had already happened. I'm good with that if they prove results. But it seems to me that the politicians, the planning departments, the CEOs, or whatever else don't know what to do. So I don't know. Let's make it look like we're doing something, and we'll hire a consultant to tell us how to save money. What do they got?
And how much money are they? And how much money are they going to spend on Ernst & Young?
Well, it's going to be just like Burgess from our own city, when somebody said, let's find us $1 million to save us $1 million. And Burgess turns around and says, yeah, I'll find it, but you won't like it.
Yeah.
Right. And the first thing he comes up was, well, you could save nearly $250,000 right here on your communication systems for your fire department. And they all went, no. And he says, pretty much, he just says, well, see, I told you, here's a perfectly good way of saving money, but you haven't got the backbone to do it. And that was a no-brainer too, because the communication system was as good as anything else. They used the people's ignorance about these communication systems to make everybody afraid to make the change.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'd have been for that one, because it was the workers would have got higher salary and by merging with the rest of the region, and they still had job security. Yeah,
there was no job loss. Basically, even our own fire chief seems to be extremely ignorant on how all that worked.
Yeah.
And these consultants will come in with a report and say, this is where you can save money. This is where you can chop out parts of your budget. And what everyone's going to say is, oh, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. It's like going in like, okay, look at our house. Look at our house, inside of our house. Look at all this furniture and all this stuff that we got. We got 6 TVs or whatever else. And somebody comes in and says, you want to save money, you can lose those 2 TVs. You got extra chairs you don't need. They can go this and that. And everybody's, no, I like that chair. That was Aunt Matilda's chair and all that. You see what I mean? You can boil it down to how much of a spine do you have when it comes to these kind of things, and how much how much criticism are you willing to face? Because every time you cut a service or cut a part of the budget, you're going to get a lot of criticism from somewhere.
Yeah.
And but that means like these consulting fees, like they're good if you plan to do something about them. But I really suspect they're not going to do much. And why do they need them now anyway? They've got AI. AI could scan their whole budget, don't they?
Wow, that's an interesting thought.
They've got AI, and they could just say, okay, scan our budget and tell us what we need and what we don't need. We can start there before we get expensive consultants.
The interesting thing, I think, is you spend a lot of money with Ernst & Young, and you're probably going to be $250,000, if not $500,000 by the time they're done.
What, the consulting fees?
Yeah.
I don't think they'll cost that much.
Oh, I think they could easily. I'm a big cynic about them because I've seen some of these consulting firms in operation, and I don't like what I see often.
When I think of consulting fees, I think of those programs to straighten people out from drug and alcohol abuse. Yeah. They're always right. So if you go to their systems, we had a de novo system for our union guys, right? Someplace we could send them to take care of their drug and alcohol problems. And basically what for 3 months they did everything right. And what de novo says is if you do this, this, and this, and you continue to do this, this, and this, you will be, there will be no problems. You will win. The problem is addicts don't do this, this, and this. And I think probably the politicians are addicted to spending. And pretty much, concrete ping pong table was a good example. A dog, what was it? A dog course, a dog exercise course, and dumb. So
well, I think that, for example, the concrete ping pong table type idea, if it only cost us $500, you'd have said, who cares?
Yeah, but it costs thousands.
Yeah, exactly.
And who the hell's going to use it?
Yeah. Well, like the kids, you see, if I wind my thought back to when I was a kid, I'd have loved to have had I used to play table tennis all the time, so that would have been good for me.
Well, how about how many table tennis tables can you buy with the amount that you buy for the concrete ping pong table?
Yeah,
you could buy all kinds of them.
A lot.
So you have one set of people playing on the concrete table. If you took that same amount of money and bought portable ping pong tables, set them up, how many other kids can be playing? Lots of people could be playing instead of just one.
Yeah, for the price of the one concrete ping pong table, you're right. You could have probably bought for somewhere like a Lions Club or something, somewhere with a hall. You could probably bought 10 of them for the same price.
Even at the Gale Center, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the Gale Center, yeah, exactly, that kind of thing. Anywhere there was a decent sized hall and where kids could play, you could certainly get them playing table tennis.
Sure. Instead of spending a lot of money on a concrete one.
Yeah.
Or a dog obstacle course. Obstacle course? Like, what's that all about? Like, can't you take your dog for a walk? You have to have an obstacle course. You have to have the taxpayers pay for it. Yeah. So there you go, have it. So you can get a consulting fee, and the consulting company come in and say, hey, you want to save money? No more concrete ping pong tables.
Yeah.
How much money being thrown at the hub on Main Street. Yeah, that's a good one too. The hub at Main Street seems to have been a ill-conceived. It sounded like a good idea at the time. That was where the market was, but guess what? The Niagara Falls Farmers Market is doing much better at the McBain Center.
Well, you know why?
A huge facility there.
You know why it does better at the McBain Center? Because I can go and park there for free.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot more room, isn't there?
Exactly. As you know, whereas if I go to where the hub was, maybe there's room for 26 cars, you know, whereas you go to McBain Center, it's 150 cars. Yeah. And it's a no-brainer of a choice, really.
Well, the thing with the McBain Center is all the activities that are happening at the McBain Center on Saturday morning can continue to happen because there's huge amounts of parking everywhere for everyone to do everything they need to do, because it's got a vast parking lot. So those people who are taking swimming lessons or doing whatever they do can still go there. Well, and everybody that can come to the farmers market and find parking. I remember one time I went there, I had to park way in the boonies, but there was parking there, you know, so I had quite a trot to get into the farmers market, but still it was available to me.
Yeah. And again, there's a shopping mall just across the street, so you can park and walk.
Yeah, that's another thing too. If you had to do that, but it seems to me that there's more than ample amount of parking.
I agree. Whereas that lot, you know, behind the I think it will continue as the hub, but that's another, you know. It will continue as the art hub, but that's another thing entirely.
Well, something's got to happen there. They can have concerts or whatever else. I don't know. It's supposed to be an artist opening, and that I think it was a very expensive mistake. Sounded good at the time. You know, it sounded good.
Yeah, I was in favor of it at the time because we were being told that we needed a place for our artists to, you know, to be, and with the relative close proximity to the tourist zone, I thought that would be a good thing, that we get tourists in there, but nobody seems to have done that. The whole thing seems to have died a death as well, right?
I don't even know what goes on in there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there are little restaurants or anything that work, but anyway, aside from all of that, getting a consultant to come in to the region and tell us what we probably already know.
Yeah,
pretty much. Will they do anything with it? Like Jason Burgess says, I can find you places to cut money, but you're not going to like it. Yeah. And of course, that's exactly what happened. Okay, I can find you a few places to cut money here. And what does council say? No.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And okay, then there's also the next one, which needs to be considered as well. The District School Board of Niagara approves a balanced $677 million budget for the next school year.
I don't know anything about that.
It's a $10.9 million increase in budget. And what they've got is included in there is a plan that protects against teacher layoffs or program cuts while expanding specialized courses.
Well, yeah, it could be. But they've already cut out a lot of specialized courses. So I don't know. They're trying to specialize courses. They're trying to find places where kids are good at what they, you know. I think a lot of effort is trying to find ways and means to reach kids that aren't good at conventional academics.
Yeah.
You know, what can you do? Can you plant trees? Can you cut a piece of wood? What kind of skills can we find that you might adjust to or might elicit some kind of interest? I'm not so sure about that. I think in myself that you have to do the reading, writing, arithmetic. Got to get those down there as solid as possible, because those are your tools for the rest of the year, life. And
life.
yeah, definitely. And as I always say, I always very much appreciate my teachers now, like I didn't before. When I was a kid, I thought it was just a whole lot of ho hum. But when I became an adult, I realized I can read, I can write, I can do arithmetic. And if it wasn't for my teachers, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I was such a lousy student.
That ability for somebody like yourself to read and write, when you compare to the same you as you would have been 250 years ago, who couldn't read and write, basically, huge difference, right?
Well, my great grandfather couldn't read or write.
Yes, exactly. Right, and it's an important step forward, and so much more comes from just reading and writing. Even if you are just a guy who plants rose bushes for the rest of your life, it doesn't matter. You've got that ability to read and write, and maybe you can develop a rose bush philosophy, for all I know and all I care, right? Without that ability to read and write, you're going nowhere.
Yeah. So I don't know, all these specialized programs, they're really good. However, what is the end result? And we've talked about this before. It's very disconcerting. So if you've got a kid that goes through high school and does a pretty good job, let's say they get about 65% all through, and they're going to do pretty well. But the employer there is very wary of a high school diploma now, because he doesn't know that he or she does not know if you just got pushed through on some bird courses. So that employer is now going to have to test you. Here's a test. If you can do this test, maybe I'll consider you for the job. Yeah. It's sad that the employer cannot say, okay, I got grade 12. That tells me that you can do X amount of things. You have a level of competency. You don't have that confidence anymore.
Yeah. Because how many people have passed their grade 12 without basic reading, writing, and arithmetic?
Yeah, we found that they were in the United States. They were pushing kids through school because they couldn't teach them, so they just kept graduating. And by the time they get to grade 8 and get out, they can't read or write. That's why there's so much sort of semi-illiteracy in the poor areas of the United States, or Canada too, where you got semi-literate people in the Black community, Hispanic community, and the poor white communities, because the idea of universal education isn't there. It's a little bit less so up here, but we're looking at that situation too, where we kind of turn our back on, is the kid actually learning or not? Let's just push them through. We can't fail them. We can't hold them back. So he can't read or write, so give him his diploma, get him out of here. That way we can just say, okay, we've dealt with them. So the real concern with a person like me is you have to educate that person so that they can get out into the world and, function. I mean, when you go, look, when it came time to fill out my unemployment cards, I knew exactly what to do.
Yeah. Well, I remember back to when I was at school and in secondary school from 11 onwards, we had 7 classes per year. The top 4 classes were those that they thought were going to be academically capable of doing stuff, and the bottom 3 classes were we'll give you car mechanics and woodwork to do. We don't care whether you read or write.
That part of it was wrong. I don't know. I talked to tradesmen out of Britain, and at least my age group. And when they went to trade school at night, they had to go to regular school. So at a certain time, they finished their, 16 years old or whatever. They finished school and they were going to go into the trades. But when they went into the trades, they had to go to trade school at night, where they learned writing and arithmetic
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all the other things that a normal high school kid would learn. So they and I found that the British tradesmen, compared to Canadian tradesmen, were much more well aware of politics. They were much better. They could write a report that made sense. They knew something about politics, and they knew something about, because they're well-rounded education. They knew
mm,
something about the world.
yeah.
Um, and I found that our own tradesmen who only required to get a grade 10, I found them, you know, some of them that couldn't hardly write their name, you
Mm.
know,
I,
but they
I
were good grades. They
well,
were good on the tools, but you know what I mean? They would
well,
never be able to move up.
there's always kids in every year that you see. One of my friends, one of my friends when I was at school, he was the best artist you've ever known. He couldn't write his name though.
Yeah. So so we don't
We
want
taught
that.
me and
So
my brother taught him to read and
we
write.
want people to have the equipment to move on.
Yeah,
And yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Me and my brother taught this kid to read and write. Right.
That's
So
good.
we took it on ourselves to actually, I'm not saying that he came out of that particular exercise brilliant, with a brilliant mind, but he had the ability to read and write, whereas the schools have given up on him. Brilliant artist, probably did ad art for a living.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so much for our opinions of education here.
Yeah.
So they're just talking about huge budgets, and I think we're just pinballing around. Like, we didn't address the fact of the budget and what it's going to do. And I have to say, they
Well,
did not prepare for that
it's
article at all.
it's a 10.9 million increase from last year, which I don't know what that has an impact on
So
our.
what's it going to do, though? It talks about specialized program.
Yeah, it's talking about specialized
So what's it
programs.
going to do?
Yeah, and it's talking about specialized programs. And part of me says we need specialized programs, but part of me also says that at a time when we got budget crunches, specialized programs are kind of money, money that I question whether we should be spending.
It depends on the results.
Yeah,
Basically, is it going to facilitate our kids? Is it going to help them? But I have my doubts, of course, because they can't even get the kids to drop their phones in school. I mean, they have to make a policy.
yeah,
They can't. A teacher just can't say put your phones away. They actually have to get a policy that says that you don't have your phones in school. How can you learn if you're on the phone all the time?
yeah. I know.
And then somebody will say, well, this particular student should have their phone, because if you take their phone away from them, they will suffer anxiety, and that anxiety will interfere with their ability to
Yeah.
learn. And then the teacher says, well, they're not learning anyway because they're on the phone all the time. Oh, yes, but we can't have an anxiety student. And then everyone, if that student has this phone, I think we should all have our phones.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
remember, we're the adults. We're the ones that's supposed to be making the decisions here. Put your phone away. Put them in this box. I like that idea. All phones go into this box at the beginning, right?
yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
the teachers also have no ability to punish the kids either. You know what I mean? If I
Yeah.
was clowning around with a friend of mine, a teacher would come along beside me with a yardstick and give me a good hard whack across the back, and a much lighter one for girls when they got out of hand. But I would get a nice sharp bang with a yardstick. That would straighten me out for at least another 20 minutes.
Well, yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, and that's always tough anyway, right? And school is there to try and give our kids the best chance in life.
Yeah. So if the specialized programs work, I
Yeah,
like that. I think a lot of them, though, seems to be based on theory. Sometimes they're on point, sometimes they're off. I'm just wondering if they are getting a solid core basic education, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Are they getting those? And then can the student then find a way of pursuing their interests and reaching their potential? You know, because kids think that just everything's they don't have an idea of the future. I certainly didn't. You know,
yeah,
this is what you're going to want to do, right? You're going to want to get a job. You're going to want to make money. What are you interested in? You can try this plumbing. Do you want to be a plumber? Do you want to be a millwright? Do you want to be an auto mechanic? Do you want to be a seamstress? You know what I mean? Do you have those skills? Do you want to be an accountant? Do you want to be an engineer? These are avenues. So you have to decide based on your skills where you're going to go. And I
yeah,
don't know if the education system does that well enough.
yeah. Okay, the next one I got from the BBC, but it's applicable to everything. Long wave radio era is set to end. These long wave radio masts in Britain have been up in Worcestershire. These are 700 foot high, and they've been around since 1934, and they're about to the long range radio forecast is actually long wave radio forecast is actually about to end. They're just ceasing all transmission, and at the moment there's a campaign out there in Britain to actually keep these masts up.
Yes, well, they are very historic. 1934, I think they put up these huge
Yeah,
towers, 750 feet high, or around 700 feet high anyway.
yeah,
And so they were put up so that everybody in England can get long wave radio service, well, everywhere in Britain, I guess.
yeah,
So they wanted everybody in Britain to be able to have that. It turns out that though during the war, they became very, very important at jamming radio signals of German bombers. They were able to use them also to send
yeah,
clandestine messages throughout to the resistance movements in Europe. So that it has a long storied history. Now,
they do.
now if somebody wants to knock them down, I think
Yeah,
you should leave them up. You don't know what else you could use them for. You could use them for internet. I don't know what else you could use it for them, but they want somebody wants them listed as a sort of a historical thing, so to
yeah,
keep them up for as a historical thing like you do a building. But others say, well, just knock it down, get rid of it. We don't need it anymore. Well, you don't need the long wave systems that it was used for, but what else can it be used for?
yeah,
That's my thing.
absolutely.
And you may
Yeah,
be able to use them for other things. Even if you could do, you never know where you're going to need a tower for. I don't think you should knock them down. You've built it. You've paid a lot of money to put them up. Back in the day, it was about $20 million back in the day, and they used special riggers. One guy came all the way from Sydney, Australia. He was a specialist rigger, came right off the Sydney Harbor Bridge, I guess, back in the 30s. And so they had a handful of very specialized riggers, only about 10 or something. It's really, really interesting that they only had 10 riggers on this thing. In any case, they have this big tower, and someone says, well, it shouldn't be listed, and maybe just get rid of it.
yeah.
I'm not so sure that's a good
I
idea.
think that
I think it can be utilized.
historically, these have got, just the history that you mentioned, World War II, the disinformation during World War II, the information that was sent to the resistance movements across Europe during World War II, that alone says this almost ought to be turned into a museum.
Yeah, it was also jamming German planes when they came into Britain. They couldn't communicate with one another because of the jamming frequencies that these towers were able to put out.
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of stuff, that kind of stuff almost ought to be a museum in here, of it. Yeah. The irony here is, of course, and you mentioned a good thing there, that potentially out there is that you could actually put up a long wave internet, or some form of internet broadcast, internet.
Yeah, yeah. So there's generation G5 or whatever it is now out there. I don't know. I think to sort of I could see discontinuing the long wave service, but I'm sure that the tower could be utilized for other things.
Yeah.
And
long wave has been around for such and such a long time. The difficulty with long wave is that if you played music on there, it wasn't good quality.
Well, yeah, but long wave went a lot farther.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It went a lot farther with a lot less energy.
Exactly.
FM, we do have the ability of FM radio. We've had it for a very long time, but it didn't start become utilized until about the 70s, basically late 60s and then into the 70s. And everybody, we're going FM. That's because it had a shorter range, but if you had the population, that's okay.
And as of today, you can pick up FM stations in Toronto or Hamilton, but you can't pick one up in Ottawa.
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah,
I don't know. It's very historical, and I think probably we should end it there. It's 8:04. I gotta do my very last pickup for bingo until the next season begins in September. Really? Yeah, so thank you everybody out there that did play Kiwanis TV Bingo. We're going back to the 4-game rather than the 6-game method. We did 6 games during this last year as an experiment, but it didn't really work out that well. Most of the people didn't like it. They want to do bingo for 1 hour at night. They don't want to go past 9 o'clock. And that's good for us too, because the 6 games give everybody 2 extra chances of winning. We didn't make as much money. We made less money than we did last year. So anyway, aside from that, thanks everyone who did play Kiwanis TV Bingo. That will contribute. It goes right back into we just gave $1,500 to Heartland Forest. We'll give another couple $1,000 to, I think, probably the soup kitchen again. So that money's going right back in the community. And thanks for buying those and playing Kiwanis TV Bingo.
Yeah.
And what else could I say here?
Well, what you normally talk about.
Yes, Gaza. I'm going to bring up Gaza. I'll never stop bringing up Gaza until that's resolved. It's not going to be resolved. The Israelis have shown the power of AIPAC, and I just heard someone trying to protect AIPAC, another kind of a Republican type of person, Israel is us kind of thing. And he says, well, how come AIPAC is? It's only the 10th largest lobby and all that. And what about the Qatari lobby? What about the Chinese lobby and all that? The difference is the lobby is an American lobby. The other ones are foreign lobbies, and they have to be registered as foreign lobbies. The difference between the Israeli lobby is there's made up of Israel, Jewish or Zionist type Christian Zionists and Jewish people who endorse Israel. It's there more like IBM would have a lobby, or Zuckerberg would have a lobby, Facebook would have a lobby, or whatever. The thing is, it has a much more powerful political ramifications. As you can see, 75% Nearly all of the Republicans and 75% of the Democrats have some sort of fealty to Israel. And that has made it very difficult for even a guy like Donald Trump to rein in Netanyahu. You can't do it because of the powerful lobby in the United States. Who do you, they have dual loyalties basically, and that's making it very difficult. So that's why you can't get Gaza stopped. That's why you can't get a journalist in there. And that's why you can't get the mightiest power in the world, the United States, being able to stop a population of 10 million from waging war in Lebanon, because it just gives the big guy just Trump the finger and says, hey, we're going to do what we want to do. What are you going to do about it? We own half your politicians. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
So until somebody has the courage to say, okay, no more bombs for you unless you cooperate, it's going to keep happening. And they brag about it too, sadly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu. Pray for peace, and think of those little kids in Gaza and those ones in Lebanon now. I think bunches, a whole pile of kids got killed in Lebanon as well. I know, it's terrible. Anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu.